Now, I took all of this research today, we took off of WHO's website. WHO is the World Health Organization. Why did we do that? Because if you recall 3 years ago, when I was talking about these things, a lot of the information that we put out was from respected scientific journals, but a lot of that was also censored. And so if you recall, those of you who've been with me for a while, we were censored at this time. We were accused of committing dangerous atrocities on humanity by talking about vitamin D and its implication in the immune system. And so we were censored, and New York Post, wrote an article, accusing me of recommending lethal doses of vitamins. Anyway, we took all the information and all the research today from WHO directly. So, if they want to censor this, they're actually censoring the people that they've been standing and shielding behind this whole time. So if the WHO says it, then it must be true. So we took all of our literature today directly from publications that the WHO has recognized. And so you can see in this major review the relationship between nutrition and the immune system. So this generalized summary here: micronutrients such as minerals, vitamins, as well as some macronutrients and amino acids, cholesterol, and fatty acids demonstrated to exert a very important and specific impact on appropriate, key phrase here, let me change my color, appropriate immune activity, meaning regulates immune system function. This review aims to summarize at some extent the large amount of data accrued to date related to the modulation of immune function by certain micro and macronutrients, to emphasize their importance in maintaining human health. And so this is a graphic representation from the same publication, right? What is healthy nutrition? So the way they summarize it is very broad spectrum, but unhealthy food with excess calories is what they're claiming. So think of this as empty calories. Fast food, processed food. Why? Because an empty calorie, remember, for every calorie you eat, you need a vitamin or mineral to break that calorie down. And if the food doesn't contain the nutrients, then you're left with calories minus the nutrients, and that equals stress and pressure on the immune system. So you can see it aggressively stimulates accelerated aging, but also cancer. Key with this, we're talking today about that, infection, as well as allergy. And so if we eat healthy food, right, then we don't get the empty calories. But you can also see unhealthy food, the harmful effects of inflammation and immune system reactivity. So again, bad food, bad outcomes. It's not rocket science, folks. This shouldn't be new news, but we feel the need to say it because it hasn't been being said. Nobody in public health today is talking about quality nutrition as being the primary goal in order to reduce the risk of spreading infection or obtaining an infection. Now we got some other research studies here. Again, all these from the WHO. Impact of vitamins on immunity. And again, I've highlighted some key points here. In a contemporary situation, nutrients and minerals have played a considerable function in immunity booster within COVID-19. So this is specifically about COVID-19. Basically, COVID-19 virus attacks the immune system and turns on distinct inflammatory modulators which seriously affect the human body. A scientific practitioner and a team of researchers observed that multivitamins and some micronutrients can assist to enhance the immune system. Vitamins, including vitamin A, B, C, D, and K, as well as microvitamins together with zinc, sodium, potassium, and calcium, play a main function in such deadly diseases. In other words, nutrition is actually important if you want to overcome. In this study, impact of obesity on COVID-19. So what we were just talking about was empty calories, which is a driving force behind obesity. And we know that half the population is obese. And so half the population being obese, that's going to increase their risk for being impacted by any kind of infection. But in this case, this is specifically referring to COVID-19. Obesity can cause chronic inflammation. This is one of the major comorbidities that lead to increased hospitalizations. Respiratory impairment, vitamin D and other micronutrient deficiencies. I think that's interesting that obesity can cause vitamin and mineral deficiencies, because most doctors would tell you quite the opposite. They would say America doesn't have a problem with being malnourished because they're obese. But in actuality, America has a problem with being micronutrient malnourished because they are obese, and because obesity is actually a state of inflammation. It's not you having bad genes. It's not you having some, you can't blame anything other than your diet and your activities on obesity. I mean, this is true for 99.9% of the population. So again, it's the chronic inflammation leading to the micronutrient deficiencies, but also dysbiosis, abnormal bacterial counts in humans. And in addition, psychological stress. If you remember what happened during the last 3 years, is the first thing that happened was locking folks up, locking folks down. And so the stress, the sleep disturbance, the increased sedentary behavior, all came from that, right? And then increased intake of fast food, because everybody was ordering their food out and having it delivered, as well as overconsumption of processed foods, increased the risk of developing obesity, which we saw get worse. And again, over 50% of the world's population is currently overweight or obese, and the number of COVID-19 cases has rapidly increased to over 470 million, according to the theory of public health prevention and control. We propose that a comprehensive program with rational dietary action as the core is the optimal strategy for and preventing and controlling obesity and COVID-19. In other words, check yourselves, folks, check your diet. Very, very important. If you're not focused on nutrition, everything else is secondary and tertiary. The number one factor, the most important factor, is nutrition. And then we have this study here, the role of immunomodulatory nutrients in alleviating complications related to SARS-CoV-2. This was a major review. You see the effect of immunomodulatory nutrients on the outcomes, including hospitalization, intensive care unit admissions, oxygen requirement, and mortality or death rates in COVID-19 patients. These were human studies, so this is a review of human studies. Again, what I say earlier, I said what's really great about the last 3 years is we've got all this human data now. Before, a lot of the data on nutrition was either animal studies or in vivo or in vitro studies, petri dish type studies, but now we have actual human outcome studies. And this particular research paper is kind of reviewing them. So you can see here, available evidence demonstrated that supplementation with immune supportive micronutrients such as vitamin D, vitamin C, and zinc may modulate immunity and alleviate the severity and risk of infection. The effectiveness of vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc on COVID-19 was different based on baseline nutrient status, the duration and dosage of nutrient therapy, as well as the time of administration and the severity of the severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS-CoV-2 disease. This review indicated that supplementation with high-dose C, D, and zinc may alleviate the complications caused by COVID-19, including the inflammatory markers, oxygen therapy, as well as length of hospitalization, as well also as mortality. So again, vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. This is a review of human studies showing that those three nutrients had major impacts on the outcome of disease severity as well as hospitalizations and death. We can now make that claim. We were accused of fraudulent activity 3 years ago for trying to just warn people to consider those things. Today, we have the research that the WHO actually published on its own website that we can say that will back this up. So on this one, a comparative study of serum zinc, copper, magnesium, manganese, chromium, and iron levels and their association with the vulnerability of Iraqi COVID-19 patients. In summary, infected individuals had significant lower levels of zinc, magnesium, manganese, chromium, and ferritin than recovered individuals or healthy controls. Conclusion, these results show that an imbalance in the levels of essential trace elements could be associated with increasing the risk of COVID-19 infection. So again, it comes back to nutrition, vitamins and minerals and the levels, and why not everybody that takes vitamin C is going to miraculously be healed by vitamin C is because not everyone is deficient in vitamin C going into it. Some are, some aren't. So you do get mixed results. The key takeaway from a lot of these studies on nutrition in COVID and the key message that we hear over and over again is that a lot of it is dependent upon where a person was, what is the person's levels at the time. This is one of the most important things to assess. So if you're going into this, let's say you get sick and you're sick in a big way, take this information, talk with your doctor, make sure they're testing your levels of these nutrients, because it could very well be that you're low in certain key nutrients like vitamin D and zinc. And by being low in them, you might increase your risk of being hospitalized or of being or of having greater degrees of complication. And so the levels matter. So getting your levels checked prophylactically, in my opinion, is an extremely important and fundamental thing that you want to look into. And if you do it now, you can an ounce of prevention is a pound of cure. Now here are some of the main nutrients that have been researched and published in humans as far as supporting immune system function, but specifically also even with COVID-19. And we're going to talk more about more studies here in just a minute. But zinc, vitamin C, quercetin, vitamin D, Knack, and vitamin A. So let's look at some of the research studies around these. So you can see in this published study, effects of vitamin D on COVID-19 infection and prognosis. This was a major systemic review. This is done in human trials. You can see that the summary here, vitamin D status in the blood can determine the chances of catching coronavirus severity, as well as the mortality. Therefore, keeping appropriate blood levels of vitamin D through supplementation or through sunshine exposure is recommended to the public to be able to cope with the pandemic. So what does vitamin D look like? What does a normal level of vitamin D look like? So the test that you can ask your doctor for is called a 25-OHD test. And as a general rule, you want to be higher than 40. If you're not higher than 40 on that test, and a lot of research shows that if you're under 30, that's where a lot of the risk comes in. So you definitely want to be above 30, but in my opinion, you want to be above 40, and ideally 70 to 100 is where you want to be going, especially going into fall, because what are we doing? We're losing daylight. The days are getting shorter. We have less access to sunshine to be able to make vitamin D through the cholesterol in our skin. So again, getting it measured now gives you kind of an insight and a clue as to what your levels look like, because as you go into less daylight, you're going to want to be able to support it nutritionally, either through good foods or through the use of supplementation. And we got another study over here on boosting the immune system with vitamin D, with a special focus on the prevention of COVID-19 and its complications. And so you can see the summary. Evidence suggests that vitamin D's protective immunogenic actions reduce the risk, complications, and death from COVID-19. Vitamin D deficiency worsened the clinical outcomes of viral respiratory diseases and the COVID-19 related cytokine storm. So in other words, if you had a vitamin D deficiency, you were more likely to have a worsened outcome, right? And so, including death, I should really just point that out. So vitamin D, pretty important nutrient, being that it's related to severity of illness, but also increased risk of mortality. And what's interesting is there's more evidence of that now than there is of, let's say, hand washing. Not to say you shouldn't wash your hands, or social distancing or mask wearing. Like the level of evidence on nutrition versus the main three pieces of advice that public health experts are giving us, which is, again, wear a mask, wash your hands, and social distance. But the level of evidence for micronutrients is far greater in terms of outcomes. Those other pieces of advice, there are no great studies that show those things are super effective. Now, there's common sense, and there's years of years of practice, and again, common sense goes a long way. Washing hands is not a bad idea. I don't want you to think that I'm opposed to that. Although, the mask issue, I think, is highly debatable, and there's not really much great evidence at all that doing that is going to reduce somebody's risk of spread or of catching. Now, let's look at vitamin C. So these studies done, again, human studies, impact of high-dose vitamin C on the mortality, severity, and duration of hospital stays in COVID-19 patients. This was a meta-analysis, meaning it was a review of multiple studies. And so if we summarize, this was 15 studies that were reviewed involving 2,100 patients. The study demonstrated a significant correlation between vitamin C consumption and death. Vitamin C consumption significantly reduces mortality risk with COVID-19 patients. Furthermore, there was a link between the severity of COVID-19 and the intake of vitamin C. Patients who consumed vitamin C showed 0.63 times less severity than those who did not take vitamin C. Conclusion, during COVID-19, there was a substantial advantage in taking supplementary vitamin C, at least in terms of severity of disease and mortality. So vitamin C for the win. Then we have this other study here. Again, WHO data. So the role of vitamin C in the treatment of COVID-19, a comprehensive review. Again, a review study. In this one, you can see here just some highlights. Researchers and clinicians hypothesized or theorized that ascorbic acid, vitamin C, could help prevent SARS-CoV-2 infection. The summary, vitamin C possesses positive impacts on curing of infection, and this may play a protective role in the current COVID-19 pandemic through boosting the immune system. I think this statement here, vitamin C is beneficial in lowering the death rate, is the one we should pay attention to. Because, that's moving the needle. That's obviously, we don't want people to die from something that's very treatable. But a lot of doctors are refusing to use vitamin C. They're refusing to use zinc. They're refusing to use vitamin D, despite the evidence that I'm presenting to you today. And this is evidence, again, you can go to WHO's website, you can pull all of this up, and you can look at it yourself. This one, Association of Vitamin C Treatment with Clinical Outcomes for COVID-19, another systematic review and meta-analysis. So again, all three of these are major reviews of multiple studies. You see results suggest that vitamin C may lower mortality in COVID-19 patients. Again, reduce risk of death. So there's vitamin C. Now moving on to N-acetylcysteine. I've done entire shows on just Knack itself. Knack, N-acetylcysteine, is an amino acid. And you can see in this conclusion of this study, adjuvant treatment with Knack in severe or very severe COVID-19 pneumonia is associated with significantly lower risk of mortality by 30% in elderly patients. That's not a small number, folks, and Knack is cheap. You can buy it over the counter. Principally males and with associated comorbidities. What's an associated comorbidity for COVID? It's, heart disease. It's obesity. It's diabetes. It's hypertension or high blood pressure. Like, these are associated comorbidities. So what they're saying here is in the elderly, especially in men with these particular conditions, there was a lowered reduction in overall mortality risk using N-acetylcysteine. Again, something you can simply buy over the counter, very inexpensive to do. You can see in this study, impact of N-acetylcysteine on SARS-CoV-2, pneumonia, and its sequelae results from a large cohort study. You can see patients receiving N-acetylcysteine during hospitalizations for COVID, pneumonia, and discharged alive present a significantly shorter length of hospital stay compared to those who did not receive Knack. So in this case, it's a reduction of hospital stay. I don't know about you, but first of all, it's a bad thing if you got to go to the hospital, but it's even worse if you got to be there for a really long time. So if we can reduce that duration and get you out of there faster, one, it'll save you a ton of money because a night in the hospital is not cheap. But two, reducing hospital stay means you're recovering faster, and that's always a positive outcome that we're after when it comes to being sick. Nobody wants to be sick longer than what's necessary. Let's look at this study on quercetin. So, again, quercetin in the prevention and treatment of coronavirus infections with a focus on SARS-CoV-2. Quercetin inhibits viral entry, absorption, and penetration in the SARS-CoV virus, which might be at least partly explained by the ability of quercetin and its derivatives to inhibit these different chemicals. These are different inflammatory chemicals. Quercetin is a potent immunomodulatory molecule due to its direct modulatory effects on several immune cells, cytokines, and other immune molecules. Given the multifactorial beneficial action of quercetin, it can be considered a very valid drug as preventative, mitigating, and therapeutic agent of COVID-19 infection, especially in synergism with zinc. In other words, they're recommending it be used with zinc. Remember that quercetin is what's known as an ionophore, and so what that does is it helps get zinc into the cell much easier. So quercetin helps shuttle zinc into the cell where it can be very, very effective. Zinc has a number of antiviral effects that have been studied. But also you could say not just synergism with zinc, but also with vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E, and other polyphenols, which are other plant-based compounds that are similar to quercetin. So all those research studies that we have now, specifically on COVID, published on WHO's website to help you make better decisions about how you can approach your nutritional health as you come into this cold and flu season. And I would just encourage any of you watching this, now's not the time to panic, now's not the time to get scared, now's not the time to make hasty or ignorant decisions about your health. Focus on the fundamentals: sleep, sunshine, exercise, diet. Those things are where it's at. That's where your immune system is going to get the bulk of its help from you. Now, if you want my protocols on immune function, I'm going to put a special link underneath this video and you can go check those out. But I have an entire breakdown on all my immune protocols. These are the protocols we use in my practice for people that come in and we want to support their immune function. So you can get access to those. Again, we'll have a special link below this video that you can tap on and check out all of those protocols and apply them if you'd like. But I hope this information is helpful for you, and I hope it brings a little bit of wisdom and a little bit of, let's just say, reduced anxiety to you if you were having anxiety over the oncoming cold and flu season.